Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 235 and 236 for the 16th and 17th of October for 2 days, and today is 18th, so this is the summary. Currently is morning as per the recording of in Ukraine. So let's start off with weird statements. So weird, maybe not so weird. So Ukraine has condemned Iran as the accomplice of Russia. So an accomplice in Russia's crimes against Ukraine. So they stated in the statement published on the website of the ministry. So I just wondering also, NATO, or the Western countries are accomplice in the so-called actions against Donbass, maybe. So anyway, then Italy is calling its citizens to leave Ukraine. So the Italian embassy is now calling its citizens to urgently leave Ukraine. So it seems like every country knows something is happening, something is going to happen in Ukraine. Somehow we are not informed of that. So and in Russia, very interesting development. So previously I did mention that some of the Russian sources seems to be on a certain kind of list that they might be incriminated or something. So apparently that entire thingy was kind of fake. There is totally no source, no paper, nothing to indicate that that list exists, that they wanted to incriminate or they want to take down all these Telegram channels or whatever. So now officially from the Russian Ministry of Digital Development, Communications and Mass Media, they now declare support for war correspondents and reporters. So in the Telegram post by the ministry, they say, "Dear war correspondent and those who honestly and openly covers the events of special military operation by any means." So the Ministry of Digitalization categorically is against any attempts to influence your activities. They highly appreciate the work and support the desire to speak openly. So they say these people are true professionals, and honesty is their values, and they say that many of these risk their life for the sake of reporting from the front line. I think they are referring to some like War Gonzo, and unique pictures of battles and objective description of events. Your Telegram channels create a complete picture of what is happening. So interestingly, now the ministry is offering help. If you need help, the Ministry of Digitization and subordinate organizations are ready to provide necessary legal and information support. So they say that there are almost 100 million users on the state services, and among them there are definitely those that will join this initiative. So they ask these people to contact the government if they need to do fundraiser for victims, if you need volunteers, you need help with from the military, and they want them to declare any attempts to exert pressure and obstruction of their journalistic activities. So they gave them the contact on Telegram, and they encourage them to keep working, act without fear, and rely on a professional duty. And so again, if you're pro-Ukrainian, maybe you think this is all nonsense. So possibly, maybe this is not true. They're just talking rubbish. But this is pretty encouraging for the pro-Russian sources that is working in Russia, and this is the first time I think the Russian government have announced support for pro-Russian supporter or analysts or media. I think I've never seen this before. This is the first time I see the government actually, and then this looks really sincere, the way how it was written, and they actually declare they wanted to help, to make sure that their activities are not impeded, and they actually even want to give support for any initiative from these Telegram channels, which many of them actually help to raise funds, and do a lot of things. So I'm pretty impressed in this sense. I can't say the same for the Ukrainian side, because reporting on the war is pretty much illegal on the Ukrainian side. So and it's also interesting because this also run counter to the previous law that they are not supposed to be talking about the war. They are not supposed to call it a war, and they are not supposed to do analysis of the war in Russia, for the Russian people. It's against the law to analyze the special military operation. So somehow something has changed, and I think maybe this is the result of them losing the information war, and they realize the importance of massive channels like Ryba or Colonel Kassat. Maybe this is the reason why there's this change. And yeah, it's interesting to see Russia really improving. This includes what I talked about. Their military reports daily was pretty much rubbish, and then after the complaint by the MP, immediately the report improved by so much. They give so much more information, and now it's really I can really plot information on the map based on Russian Ministry Defense reports. So something has changed in Russia, something unusual. The past 2-3 months, just suddenly become so much more less relic, not so rigid. Yeah, let's watch on and see what's next. So the Russia also declares the end of partial mobilization. They say that all the subpoenas will no longer be issued. They have already achieved all the things that they needed for the mobilization. So currently there's no more mobilization in Russia, or at least partial mobilization in Moscow has officially ended. So maybe it's just Moscow, no idea, but it seems to be the whole of Russia based on the previous understood information. So moving on to the Southern Front, and so in case you guys are confused, for those that are new or not familiar with the geography, this is the Southern Front. So this is the Mykolaiv region, Khyber and Kherson region. So at the Mykolaiv Front, there is intel that there are French mercenaries arriving in Mykolaiv. So this is reported by War Gonzos, and they have sources that engage in radio intercepts, and also sources on the ground like underground activists. They can confirm that there are arrivals of French people or French mercenaries or soldiers in Mykolaiv city, and this is pretty stuck to them because previously mercenaries speak mainly English and Polish, and nowadays they start to hear French. So it's both in the radios and on the streets. So Wagonzo say they will promise to report more on this. So let's see if they have anything else about this. There is no more fighting along the Mykolaiv region. Seems like all the fighting have subsided. They didn't really achieve what they set out for. So regrouping is currently happening on the Ukrainian side, where reinforcement is reported at Ukrainka as well as at Klishchiivka, just off Blahodatne and north of Maximivka, and that's all from the Mykolaiv Front. Over at the Kherson Front, despite this 2-day report, there's only 2 instances of fighting being reported, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. But of course, I just want to add, the Russian Ministry of Defense report today has not released. Usually they only release after 12 noon in Ukraine time, and usually by that time it will be quite late. So we only have the information coming on the reported yesterday, which is probably describing incidents on the 16th. So maybe there will be more, but we will report it in the next SITREP. And anyway, there is fighting reported at Bruskinsky, and where the Ukrainians try to break through the defense of the Russian side. However, take heavy losses. As usual, it's always a heavy losses. If you ask the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they also say the Russians have heavy losses. If you ask the Russian side, the Ukrainians have heavy losses. It's always very heavy. Yeah, so they should go slim down and go to the gym more. So don't be so heavy, BMI so high, no good. So the fighting is reported from Duchany towards Miloviv or Mykolaiv. Yeah, no success. So they got ditched. The Love did not form. And reinforcement is reported at Novokayamka. So a platoon of the battalion of the 60th Brigade is transferred from Potemkino to Novoya Kamanka. So it's Nova Kayamka. So and there's also reinforcement reported at Hyvrylivka. So yeah, no more actions other than this so far. Looks like the major assault has really, taken the wind out of the sail. So yeah, that's all from the Kherson offensive, which is still ongoing. As you can see, it's still ongoing. Moving on to the Zaporizhzhia Line, no fighting is reported across the Zaporizhzhia Line, not even at the Velika Novosilka region here. However, there is also a regrouping reported, reinforcement reported at Komishuvaha, and so 250 troops are transferred over there. And there is also reinforcement reported around the Huyaipo region, where artillery troops are being transferred over to this area. So that's all from the Zaporizhzhia Line. Over at the Donetsk front, at the Donetsk region, there's fighting reported at Novomykhailivka. Most of this information are from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry at the Donetsk front. Then there is fighting reported at Bojeda, according to Guo Gonzo, as well as the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And there's fighting reported on both days at Marinka. So the Russians are launching the major attacks around this region, and fighting continues to be reported at Krasnohorivka as the Russian forces continue to try to break through this heavily fortified region at Krasnohorivka on the western side of Donetsk city. And the Russians continue to try to take Nevelsky. Fighting reported on both days, and Pervomaisky on the 17th yesterday. And interestingly, there is fighting reported at Vodian according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, as well as at Opaine according to War Gonzo. So the front lines has moved forward clearly as they go further and further away from the Pisky, as well as airport. The fighting is getting nearer and nearer. Seems to be that case. So which also means that this claim of capture does not seems to be held true, because they are still fighting for this position. I think they are probably more like they are just describing what their plan is, which is actually to take Krasnohorivka on the north of Adivka, as well as Opaine and Vodian, so that they can actually do this pincer movement to close up the encirclement at Olivka for Adivka. So anyway, that's all from the Donetsk front. Over at the Bakhmut front, so in case you guys are lost, yeah, the southern front, Zaporizhzhia, Donetsk, and on the most eastern side of the Donetsk front is the eastern front at the Bakhmut region. This is Bakhmut city, and there's fighting reported on both days at Mayosk, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, there is this interesting report where there is fighting now reported at Klishchiivka. So Klishchiivka is all the way on the southwest of the Bakhmut city, which means that the Russian forces have actually progressed further and managed to hit towards the western region of the Bakhmut already. So if you cut Bakhmut into half, one line, so they are now fighting on the western half of Bakhmut, which is progress, you see. So the Ukrainian forces seems to be continue to be pushed backwards, so that we are actually reported to have fighting at Klishchiivka. So however, the Ukrainian also still do not admit or agree that Ivangrad has been taken. So they say the fighting is reported at Ivangrad. So no fighting reported at Opaine here though. Fighting continued to be reported at Bakhmut city itself on the eastern side on both days, and there's fighting reported at Bakhmutske and Soleda, both which is as usual, nothing special. I think this will take forever to finish, and that's all from the Bakhmut front. Over at the Siversk Front, the Russians reportedly has been trying to attack Sperne on both days. On the 16th, it's reported by the War Gonzo, and on the 17th, reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Fighting continues over at Sperne region. And interestingly, the Ukrainians have launched on an offensive into Luhansk, deeper into Luhansk, where there's fighting reported at Shepelivka from Bilohorivka region. So according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they said that the Ukrainians have launched an attempt to attack in the direction of Tryapivka, which I believe is Shepelivka, and the forces is thrown back though. They did not work out. The Russian claims 50 soldiers were killed, 6 tanks and 2 armored fighting vehicles, 4 pickups were destroyed. Seems like a pretty big number to have been lost. I believe this is the correct location though. So anyway, then moving on to the Lyman Front. At the Lyman Front, fighting continued to rage, and we continue to have this situation of parallel universe, where the Russians are reportedly attacking Zaporizhzhia according to War Gonzo. However, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, the Russians are still trying to attack Toske. So this is definitely a parallel universe. Reinforcement is reported at Lyman, where mechanized units of the Ukrainian armed forces and detachment of foreign mercenaries arrive at Lyman. There is shelling reported at Drobysheve, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. No fighting reported around Terny region though, but there is recon attacks, or recon raids on Novosadove, as well as at Nevelske, which is along this entire region. So according to this source by Ryba, the pro-Russian source, they say that mobile recon groups of the enemy continue to probe the defense of the Russian forces in this region. And that's all from the Lyman Front. Over at the Svatove Front, there is fighting reported at Serhivka. No, this is outdated information. So this is on the 15th. Yeah, correct. It's correct. Yeah, it's 16 and 17. So this is outdated information. So there's no fighting around here at Svatove. However, over at the Kupyansk Front, there is a progress for the Ukrainian side. The Ukrainian forces have captured Pishane, Berestove, as well as Ivanivka. So this information is coming from the Russian Defense Ministry, as the Russian Defense Ministry reported that they launched artillery fire and airstrikes to attack the Ukrainian 14th and 92nd Mechanized Brigade in the settlement of Pishano, which is Pishane, Ivanivka, and Berestovo, which is Berestove, which means that these 3 locations has been captured by the Ukrainian forces. So this is how I managed to ascertain that these 3 locations has been captured. We're still not exactly sure about Tabaivka situation, and of course there is claims that by Deep State UA that Kaiserivka and Kotlyarivka has been captured. I want to look for Russian sources to double confirm this information. The Ukrainian forces has deployed a surface-to-air missile system at Sinkivka. So around here, this will probably help to protect this entire region from Russian airstrikes. And then, but it doesn't really help, because artillery and airstrike was reported at Vorishna, and previously we reported the shelling was at Vorishne, and then the Pontoon crossing was destroyed. So now the shelling has come to Vorishna. So maybe a lot of the Ukrainian forces have withdrawn over to Vorishna, but who knows? It's probably unlikely as well, because the Ukrainians are not known to like to withdraw. They always like to hold on to settlements. So anyway, this is the summary for the day of 235 and 236 for the 16th and 17th of October. Not a lot of things for 2 days of summary. And so yesterday I managed to take a break. So I went out with my family. So yeah, it's a good break because I seldom rest. And yeah, I also find that at the end of the video, do some chit chat is probably better than at the front, because of how we digest media diet. We always decide on within the first 15 seconds whether to continue to watch a video, and I realized that if I chit chat with you guys at the front of the video, a lot of people will just click away. So yeah. So anyway, I just remember to press the like button. Do subscribe if you have not subscribed, and I also want to highlight, the YouTube has demonetized 6 different days in early October so far. I'm not sure if they will return me the money. They demonetize. They actually take a lot of money away from the first from 6 days in the first 9 days of this month. They claim that there is a invalid activities. So they say that maybe it's my bots, maybe people use playlists and they just continue to play the videos, the DPA videos, and then causing invalid traffic of people watching advertisements. So I want to highlight to you guys categorically that please do not do that. I know you guys support me, but please do not anyhow click the advertisements. Be natural about it. If you really like what the advertisement shows, then you click through. Then please do not play through playlist. Put a playlist just to support me, then let the video just keep running through the night. The help, this kind of help actually will get invalidated. YouTube detects this kind of thing and then they will actually invalidates it. So don't do that. If not, it will actually cause even more losses on the DPA side, because the YouTube seems to just do a blanket punishment sort of thing, where they just demonetize the entire days of advertisement, despite maybe a handful of people doing all these things. So just don't do that. So I just want to highlight this, and but if people want to sabotage me, then there's nothing I can do about it. So anyway, I already complained to YouTube about this, and hopefully they will be fair. I have little faith though. So anyway, this is the summary, and I'll see you in the next update.